And we're back again. Tell a friend.
Did you
Guess
make that
who's
up?
back? And this movie
It's
made a
trying
comeback.
to make a
Yeah,
comeback.
it's trying to make a comeback. So Taryn's other idea was to make us watch Bourne.
Yeah.
Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne, because I like the concept of Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
I loved the first film like many people. It was fresh
The
at
Bourne
the time.
identity.
Yeah, and like, so I thought foolishly, because in retrospect, when I started discussing it, I went with Christine, one of the girls from our church, and we were discussing it, and I was like, and she's like, no, don't you remember? I was like, this is the fourth film, and she was like, there was a film.
There was the in-betweener.
The one in between. I was
Jeremy
like,
Renner.
oh no. I was like,
I
you
didn't
know
watch
what?
it.
And I was like, I may have watched it. I meant to go watch the trailer before this. I was like, I probably saw it and blocked it out.
Yeah.
Because that was inappropriate. And so now I'm like, this one, I'm slightly feeling like this one was kind of inappropriate too. I'm kind of feeling like.
Yeah, I really
didn't need
just,
it.
all I got out of it was that Matt Damon's old.
Aww.
I'm just kidding.
No, I kind of felt
No,
that
he
way
is
too,
super old though.
though.
But I watched
The man's like, what is he, like 44?
super old.
Ageist.
He's like
Ageist.
he's like a grandpa at this point, honestly.
Ageist.
Like,
Does he even have kids?
can he even see without
He
glasses?
probably
Like,
has
good
toddlers.
gracious.
He probably has toddlers.
I'm just
Like
kidding.
Mick Jagger. He's about to have a toddler.
Wow.
That's nasty. Science
That's-
does not help us in some ways, you know?
It's true. We've just gone
In
backwards.
some ways, yeah, science is not helping us.
No.
It's hurting us
It's
deeply.
yeah.
So,
Anyways, so I saw the first 3 movies, the
Mhm.
trilogy. I was on an airplane on the way to Japan. I watched all 3 movies back to back to back
okay.
on an airplane-sized screen, not the big one that's on the
Yeah.
whole cabin can see, but the one that's on the back of the chair in front of you that's like, you know, as big as an iPad.
Yeah.
And I watched all 3 movies on that, and by the third one, I was like, I'm going to throw up. It is so fast, and the edits are so fast, and
Yeah.
it's so jumpy, the shaky cam.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna vomit. Like, I
Yeah.
was super engaged and
Yes.
intrigued by the story,
Right.
but also not a good way to watch those movies.
No, I don't think even the big screen didn't help me. either.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we discussed that briefly. I had to leave the theater because I did not sit far enough at the back. I'm sitting in the middle of the theater.
Which theater were you at on this one?
And which one did I go to? It
At
was
which
the one
theater
north
were
to
you?
Cab.
North to Cab Mall. Okay.
So, you know, it was a big screen. You know, because some screens are a little bit smaller. So it's a pretty big
Right.
screen. And I thought, oh, well, I'm like in the middle. It'll be fine. But then it was not fine. I literally had to get up like 2/3 of the movie because I was like,
Good grief.
I'm gonna be sick. I'm gonna like throw up on the floor.
Wow.
Like so. But the whole movie was
Yeah.
shot handheld.
I didn't feel sick, but I was super aware of how shaky the camera was the whole time. And so, yeah, so my movie experience for this one was terrible. So I went to the South DeKalb Mall,
Okay. Yeah.
Satellite Cinemas. It's a
the
new
cute
theater.
little, yeah.
We got a bunch of free tickets because
Right.
the guy is really trying to promo his theater.
Yes.
And so me and my fiance went to see this movie. The movie starts at 9:00.
Yeah.
We got down there at 8:50.
Yeah.
You know, went to the bathroom, got some popcorn, a drink, candy. Because I'm super conscious of that. I will buy something at the theater every single time because
Aw.
that's how the theaters make money. I want theaters to keep going, so I buy things. When you go see movies, buy things.
That's really precious. Okay.
So it's expensive, so save your money, but then go buy things because theaters are great and they should continue to exist forever. So I went and I bought some popcorn, and so then my fiance needed to go to the bathroom. And so then I was like, I'll go get a seat. And I made her
Yeah.
go to the bathroom because she always gets up in the middle of a movie. And I'm like, don't do that. Go before
Yeah.
you're an adult. You should know this by now.
Right. Okay.
Love you, Michael. Anyway, and so I go and sit down, and it's 8:58, and I walk in, and I'm like, I hear it's like dark, and I hear what sounds like a movie playing, and I'm like, this is probably a trailer. And then it just is a narrative playing through, and I'm like, okay, this isn't a trailer. I don't think there's a short film before Jason Bourne, but maybe there is.
No.
And so I sit down in the chair, and there's only 2 other people in the whole theater, and I'm just sitting there watching. And then all of a sudden I see Matt Damon's face come up, and it says David Webb, and I'm like, this is the movie. And I look at my watch, and it's 9:00. And I was like,
Aw.
this movie
Wait.
said it started at 9:00. So I got
Yeah.
up out of my chair, and I went to the front desk
Yeah.
or the front counter, and I was like, excuse me, when did you say the movie started? And he's like, 9:00. And I was like, okay, well, it's playing already. So she's like, are you sure it's not a trailer? And I was like, yes, I'm sure it's not. I've seen a trailer before. It's not a trailer. And so she like hops over the counter and she runs down and goes into the theater and she steps in and she sees it. And I was like, yeah, it's playing, right? And so she goes out to talk to her manager, and I asked the two people who were in the theater, I was like, well, what time did this movie start? And they're like, oh, it started at 8:52. And so I said
8:52? Like, that's
okay.
so
I was like, okay, well, I talked to them about it starting early, so do you care if we started over? And so they're like, no, we don't care at all. And then another girl had walked in by this time and realized that this movie has already started. And she was like, thank you for doing that. Yeah, can you see if they'll start it over? So I go back outside and talk to her. She's talked to her manager. And then her manager says that she scheduled the movie to start at 9:00 and the previews to start 10 minutes before. Which, who does that? Nobody. And so people expect you can show up to movies late and you're not going to miss anything.
They definitely
because you've got 20 minutes of previews. No. So I've been told that to watch out for this. So you have to get there on time. So the movie starts when it says it starts. But it didn't. It started 8 minutes early. And so she says she can't rewind it. It's like set in the system. You can't just rewind it.
Oh my gosh.
And so I had to go back in and sit down, and I missed probably the first 15 minutes of the movie. Which honestly, in a movie like that, you don't really need. Like, it's just some sort of setup for what the whole movie will be. And so
it's a
I could deduce it. I could deduce what was happening. So, but do you want to fill me in on the first 15 minutes?
I mean, honestly, you didn't miss anything because you saw old girl get killed, and we see the files later in the movie. So, no. I mean, if you just want to see a little piece of Iceland or something like that, she was in Iceland.
Oh, see, I was wondering how the movie started. Like, what was the first thing that happened?
It's old girl, and I was like,
it's just a girl walking through a city or something?
About, like, how much older we all got. This is what I was thinking about. I was like, we all got so much older. I was like, old girl was in Save the Last Dance. Why did I just forget her name?
Julia Stiles.
She was in Save the Last
Julia
Dance
Stiles.
when she was young, and here she is looking like she should be, dragging a toddler down the street. And this is where I was. I was just like looking up some stuff. These computers are from the 80s. I'm just at a loss right now. But then you saw where she pulled a little gun on him and burned the little computer. I mean, did you see that moment? Because you had to see, if you saw the file, well, no, you're walking back and forth. So I don't know when you came back into the film, but basically it's just her, going around and then some little things where they're talking about, Jason Bourne, something. But it's just establishing the new young female as the current hacker, that's still in the agency. And then we see, Julia Stiles running around trying to hack stuff. And then she's downloading files. So we're like, ooh, files. And then they're trying to prevent her from hacking the system because they realize they're being hacked. And they turned out the electricity in Iceland. Like, is that even possible? Even if it is, that's offensive. You
just shut down the grid in Iceland.
Turning down other countries' electricity on their grid. Like,
it's America. We do what we want.
I mean, I was offended for Iceland. Like, if I was Iceland, I'd be like, this some bull. We're not even showing this in our country because y'all not gonna be sitting up here trying to front like y'all can turn off our electricity. Like, I'm dead serious. I was offended. I was like, I'm offended right now. Even if we can't do that,
I wish I had seen that.
We shouldn't be. So basically, they're like, oh, it's thus and so building, and they like track it to like the actual building, and they're like, that's this hacker's haven, or whatever.
Classic.
And they were like, shut off the power to the building. Like, the CIA literally shuts off the power to their building. If the CIA can turn off the power to their building, they should have been cut it off because they're just stealing money from people and stuff. Like, that's probably what they do all day is send like phishing and hacking attacks. I mean, so why don't we just shut off the electricity to all the hacking facilities? I mean, since we can apparently do this from the CIA.
That's a good point.
You've
already debunked the entire movie. There's no need to continue after that point.
Really? And they hacked into like all the CCTVs in France. You saw that, they're like, oh, they're in Paris. Like, let's hack into the CCTVs. Like,
let's just see where they are. And then on this terribly crummy video quality, I can somehow see who these people are. Wait, rewind it 7 seconds. Okay, enhance that, zoom in, and then pause it right now. And you're like, I don't know how you did that, except that it's in the script.
What's hysterical though too is the fact that I was like, this is how I know I'm an editor, because when they flashed through, I was like, oh, they're gonna flash back. I saw that girl's hair. And they literally, and she was like, wait, go back 3 seconds. She was like, go to that frame. And I was like, editor's eyes, dog. I saw that too. I'm sure the people were like, what? I'm like, you ain't see
I
that.
missed it. I didn't see it.
I was like, you ain't see that? That little flash of blonde? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're going to be like, that's her.
Because
Even
of the
though
blonde
all
hair.
it was like a flash of yellow.
Right.
That kind of looked like hair. Yeah, but I
Right.
totally saw it. That's what's weird. It's hard for me sometimes. That's also why the movement is weird, because my eyes take in like a lot of superfluous details. So
All the extra
when
details.
you're on like, yeah,
Those
because
details
my
that are
eyes
so
are
extra.
mad extra. The details are fine.
Oh,
my
right.
eyes
Your
are doing
eyes
more
extra.
than what they
Yeah,
actually
your
need
eyes
to be
are
doing.
okay. Got it.
Yeah, so the handheld
It's been a week and I
is
still haven't figured that out. So
a mental week.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so it's my eyes were like tracking with that stuff, those little things like that. And so when there's a lot of handheld work, it's not good.
Right.
I'm totally getting
Right.
like off kilter with that.
Right.
But also like you don't need to do handheld. I just felt like they were just stingy with the budget. Like you wanted to destroy 20 cars, but you don't have money for no tripod at no time.
Well, no, they
What?
did handheld because that's the style of the other movies.
Let's go back. You can have handheld in the action scene, but if we're at a tech conference, you can get out of the daggone tripod.
That's true. That's
There
true.
were 2 scenes. I was like, y'all, we're in a like auditorium.
Right.
You can get a tripod.
But that's the style. That's
and don't
Paul
try to
Greengrass's
Citizen
style.
Kane that joint and be like, oh, let's shoot from down here with the big screen in the back
Yep.
and get the guy's face while he's talking. Like, no, I'm so mad. I would not have approved that.
Yeah.
I would have been the producer was like, oh, these are dailies. I guess you finish shoot again tomorrow.
Yeah, there were a couple of weird moments where the shots were weird and some of the sound effects were weird. There were a couple of like
Yeah.
small, like half a second or a second
See, I don't
shots
do sound,
that
so
I'm
I don't
like,
notice at all.
why was this okay? Like, did you not, on the 18,000 times you watched this section of the movie, did you not be like, this is a weird shot and this is a weird cut. Why is this in here? Because there were a couple of moments in the movie where it took me out completely because I was like, that isn't believable, and that sound was delayed, and I like,
Interesting.
yeah,
I don't notice sound at all. So.
yeah. I was like trying to pay attention to it because sound in a movie like that is usually really impressive. All the
Yeah.
action movies and like really intense movies have really good sound design
Okay.
because they have to,
Okay.
because that doesn't sound believable. Like
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
fighting one another, you're not actually hitting, so you have to have
Right.
sound effects that really make it sound like they're destroying each other, and the car
Yeah.
crashes and gunshots and all of these
Yeah,
things.
okay.
Like, sound design is really impressive if you pay attention to it most of the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was trying to pay attention to it in this movie, and there were a couple of moments where I was like, that's just like not very good. Like, I'm not good at this yet.
Yeah.
But that's not very good.
Huh.
I can at least tell enough to know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to be hypercritical of that portion of the film.
Yeah.
I want to be hypercritical about the script because what was the script? The story was
Yeah.
trying to be like a WikiLeaks sort of thing. Like, we want to prevent a
Yeah.
situation where WikiLeaks would expose all of our deep, dark secrets.
Yeah.
But then also, the character that's the Steve Jobs character
Yeah.
in the movie, the tech CEO,
yeah.
his first keynote presentation or whatever that he's doing,
Was so weak.
I was like, you said nothing but 4 tech buzzwords, and it lasted a minute and a half, and you're like passing this off as
And
like,
people cheered.
yeah,
Like,
and
they
you're
were like-
passing this off as this is the smartest, this is the greatest person.
Yeah.
And I was like, it wasn't even like, you didn't have to have a good eye for movies or a good ear for
No.
storytelling to know that that was the cheesiest thing. Like, he was just like, in this new platform we're releasing, it's going to incorporate our multi-platform of apps and have a really great user experience
Yeah.
across all of our devices, and everyone claps, and you're just like, you didn't say anything. You said
No.
nothing of import.
And he's like, but we're not going to be keeping track of you. It'll
Yeah,
be private.
we won't track your data, which like is only in there as a plot point.
Yeah, because
like-
it's impossible. Also, like, no people at a tech conference are going to believe that. That's the
No.
thing. It's like the fanboys will cheer because they're fanboys, but everyone else is like, he's lying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the fact that he says it
Yeah,
even
it's
like
definitely-
makes
yeah.
it even clearer that he's absolutely lying to you.
yeah.
Because why would I bring your attention to the fact that we are not going to be
Release
stealing
your
your
data to
data
anyone.
unless we are watching you and like jacking all of your
Sad.
data.
I felt like a lot of the dialogue was a bit stilted.
It was,
Too.
and like I expect that in action movies to
Right.
a degree.
Because, I mean, did you see where also Julia Stiles' character and Bourne are walking through the city and she's trying to explain to him why she needs to release this stuff?
Mhm.
So that would probably be right around when you came in and sat down.
Yeah,
and
I did
was
see
just
that part.
like,
Yeah,
I was like, that dialogue made me tired. But
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an action movie, and then it made me want to go back though and watch the first one.
It made me want to go back
too,
too,
because I didn't have time this week.
because I don't know if the original was that bad.
No, it wasn't. But they also had to set up more story.
Yeah.
And so I think at this point, it's like we know who Bourne is.
Yeah, the story is sort of dead.
They
It's like
just-
every movie he's
yeah.
exposing some new secret operation.
Yeah, you know, and
And
now
like,
we
you
found
can
out
only
about
do
his
this
dad.
so many times.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just you're running out of things.
And it also, like, and this I mentioned that I wanted to talk about this, but I remember when I was in college, I took a history of cinema class.
Yeah.
And the last day of our class, there were 2 history of cinema classes. I was in the second one, which was 1950 to the present. So the first class was for, when film started to 1950, which probably would have been a more interesting class. But so my film director gets up. It's like the last day of lecture, and he's talking about modern film. And the movie we watched, so we'd have lectures, and then every week we'd watch a movie to that would sort of show all of the things we've talked about. That would be the one film that is really representative of this thing that we've been talking about for the past week. And so for modern cinema, we watched The Bourne Identity. That was the movie in our history of cinema class. And my professor got up that day, the last lecture of the class, and his first words were, "I feel like I'm delivering a eulogy." Like, he was like, film is dead. Like, this professor, we had talked about Inception one day in class, and he was like, "What is Inception?" And I was like, "You're a film professor.
Yeah.
You, like, just because you don't like the way it's gone doesn't mean you can't not know what Inception is." Like, Inception was a movie that was not only commercially successful, but also really artistic and creative and, like, really new.
It was like the freshest script for like a really long time.
Exactly. It was like a new story that wasn't really pulling off of anything before it.
Yeah,
and so you can't not know what that is if you're saying you're a film professor at a college. So it was sort of ridiculous, but that was definitely the vibe he was giving that entire day, was like what the Bourne Identity is setting up a really terrible future for cinema. And like, now that it's been 5 years, since I was in that class, or 4 years, like, I see what Bourne has done to, like, that new style of quick editing, really quick cuts, really shaky cam to sort of make the audience feel like everything is really intense, has only led to what is now Jason Bourne, the movie, the fifth installment of this franchise,
which is like a derivative of
which is all just copying this thing that they did that was on the forefront of this new style that they haven't changed and updated. And so Paul Greengrass is just like
do the thing with the camera, just bring it out, and but they could have brought in more hand-to-hand combat. I was actually, and again, I need to go watch. That is the Jason
Bourne thing.
Yeah, I mean, I need to go back and watch the first one again. But I was like, if I'm not mistaken, I recall more hand-to-hand. That was a big part of, it was like getting somebody, knocking their weapon out of their hand and doing that kind of like back and forth.
Right.
This one was particularly brutal, but that's just because it's been how many years between the first film.
Right.
And so there's just like brutality. It's just, I mean, for God's sake, people watch ISIS videos, it's like, so we're just like, when the dude comes at him with that barbell or whatever, like when he's in Berlin, me and Kristen both flinch. Kristen, we're just like, like what the, I'm sorry for your ears, but we're just like, what the, you can't hit someone something like that and expect them to survive, especially not in their head.
Right.
Like, so like the level of brutality was heightened, and like the level of destruction, like there were literally 20, 30, 50 cars that were destroyed.
That one
for
really long car chase.
Yeah, the long car chase, which wasn't even as beautiful as any of the ones that Jason Wu has ever shot. But
and then the fact that, like, I get this movie is supposed to be like push the boundaries of what is believable, but when he's in that armored car and then he drives through what is like a mile of parked cars without stopping, I'm like, there's no way his momentum would have made it this far.
Like, no piece of car, no bumper, nothing is underneath that car blocking it
like
at all.
That has slowed you down. Like, I get that you're going really fast and you're in a powerful car, but this many cars that are stopped, is going to stop. You're not going to be able to plow through them like a bullet forever. And then he does. For like a whole 30 seconds of the movie, he's just plowing through parked cars in traffic. And you're just like, this is insanity.
At that point, I had to kind of close my eyes so I wouldn't vomit.
Right.
So I couldn't
Yeah,
really,
I guess that was about the same
I was
time.
like halfway, like not really watching the film because I had come back in and I was like, I'm making it through the end of this film.
Yeah.
I am. And then when that scene started, I was like, see, here goes the camera jumping all over the place again. So I watched it, but yeah, I think I was squinting my eyes.
Yeah.
I couldn't really make it. But I was just like, how many cars did y'all destroy? And then little Bourne's little car gonna end up on top of the armored car. And then I was just like, come on, Jason, we know you too old to just jump out that wreck and act like you don't feel nothing.
Right.
Like, you know, and that's the same thing with Taken 1, 2, or 3. I'd be like, excuse me, sir. You know your arthritis is acting up. Don't be sitting here
you have
like
stunt doubles. We all know it.
Don't be acting like your trick knee not gonna kick in. So I don't know.
When the car was on top of the armored car and like it had finally and then the armored car finally stopped when it had busted through the doors of the casino and it hit like the first casino machine and like that was the thing that stopped the car, not the mile of parked cars and then the light poles and the broken glass. Like you hit one slot machine and your car is stopped. Like, okay.
Well, in the casino, and was it before that or after that? I guess it was after that. They're out of the car. Yeah, because the guy's running down the stairs on the escalator.
Yeah.
But again, I had a like editor's moment where I busted out laughing because there was a lady on the escalator who's just gripping the escalator, making a terrified face as they run by.
Right.
I was like, look at that chick. Like, you see a bunch of people running down the stairs and you gripping the side looking like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
Run! It's clearly nothing good coming.
Yeah,
like,
some
you're
assistant
just like,
director missed it that day. He was not paying attention to what the
like,
background
that
was doing.
Cracked me up
that's
because I was
not
just
good.
she was just like leaning over like, oh, I'm in the way. I'm like, honey.
She definitely, like, she knew that day on set that's not what she was told to do. And she was like, I'm going to do this because I'm going to be able to find myself and show all of my friends where I am. And
she'd be like, look, they went right past me. They went right
yeah,
past me.
exactly. And that's just the worst thing. If you're an extra, please never do that.
Yeah,
but also, the
great.
assistant director should not have let that go.
Right. And it could have been like the 12th take. She was a little heavy. She was probably like, I'm not trying to run right now.
That's also
I'm
true.
not getting paid enough to run down the escalator.
Right. Although, if you're an extra, you're getting paid enough.
No, you're not.
You do nothing.
You get like
important.
$90-some a day to be running up and down the escalator. Go back up.
Yeah, but you decided to be an extra. That was your decision. That's nobody else's fault.
It was, and she was done. That's why, Clint Eastwood, he'd be like 2 takes. Like, we're not, because he has a trick knee, I'm sure.
Oh,
and it's not
absolutely. Was he like 100 now? Yeah.
So,
now, speaking of extras, one of my film professors in college was telling me this story. She was assistant directing this Rush Hour, one of the Rush Hours. It might be Rush Hour 2.
Yeah.
But there was a scene where everyone is sort of like running out of this like food court, I think it was. And she said she was telling these extras like where to cross the camera and at what point to run. And she had an extra on the first take come up right in front of the camera, like run by the camera, stop, look right at the camera, run in place, and then run off. And she was like, okay, no. How do you think we're gonna use you running in place right in front of the camera?
I would not have a job because that is so stupid.
Yeah. I just remember that story and was like, "Good gracious, what is wrong with people?"
Blatantly stupid. I'd be like, you know what? That's why you're not getting a meal ticket for dinner. Have a seat.
Thank you so much for showing me that. I really like what you did. Can you go to the back of the room?
Yeah.
And as soon as I call background action, run screen right off camera, and then I'll call real action, and you won't be in the shot at all.
Pretty much. So I'd be like, you're about to go to timeout.
Right.
That's what you're about to do.
Actually, no. I think the Splinter unit needs you over here down the street.
I'd be like,
so
PAs,
go film down
ahead
there.
and come get green shirt. Get green shirt. Thank you. Okay.
She needs to go back to wardrobe.
Right.
Or something like that.
Right.
We gotta make something up because
take her to wardrobe. Seriously, I'd be like, you don't get another chance because that is ridiculous.
Right.
And you're wasting our time.
Yeah.
So
set life is so stupid sometimes with extras.
Yeah. Well, being an extra is hard work.
I've done it before.
Doing nothing that much is hard work. Yeah. So
it's the cushiest life.
Yeah. It's
extras
not for
have
me.
it made.
No, I'm like too bored. I can't.
Right. Yeah. We just played a lot of cards.
Of boredom. Yeah.
Played a lot of cards. Get called in, and you sit on the side while they shoot something else for an hour and a half, and then.
Yeah. Sounds so.
Although that's honestly what a lot of filmmaking. Like,
right.
If you're not in camera department or sound.
Yeah.
Or like actively in. Like as a director, like there's a lot of times where you're just standing around doing nothing.
Yeah.
We're going to the craft services table and eating chocolate.
Hopefully
drinking
chocolate.
Coke.
Hopefully strawberries.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No strawberries.
No fresh produce.
Well, there's some, but a lot of it's like in a frozen bag or like.
I'm so mad about this right now.
People are like,
so
we're
offended.
moving around too much. It's really hot outside. Nothing stays that well. So
I'm so hurt right now. Okay, but
it also depends on the production that you're on and what
yeah,
they've decided is the
guess.
budget for that sort of thing.
Right, whether they throw bags of frozen fruit at you or if they have fresh strawberries from Publix.
Well,
so.
I mean, the actors will get fresh whatever. Everything will be perfect for them. But there's these other people, like, you know, the random PAs that don't get to do
random trivia. At some point when I lived in Nashville, I worked as a PA for TBN.
Oh,
that TBN, yeah.
Trinity Broadcasting Network.
Yes, Jan Crouch and them. Angels and gold everywhere, honey. So one of our favorite things to do at the end of the night, so they have some programs that are like delayed live, you know, and so I was working one of those shows, and one of our favorite things to do at the end of the night was to go check the green room and see if people ate their strawberries.
Nice.
So I'm just thinking of like the like craft services trait, because we'd be like, yo, they didn't touch anything. We'd be on the mic, yo, come to so and so's room. They didn't eat anything because we're like starving. I mean, because obviously you come quite early, and then it's like a 2-hour live taping, and then you gotta, you know, make sure certain things get done before you leave, and if people don't eat their strawberries and their chocolate,
and that's like, where the TV is different. TV world is different from film world, because you're in a air conditioned studio and things are gonna keep really well. But if you're outside in the hot Georgia sun, like stuff's not gonna last very long. If you bring, you know, whatever you have out there to cook, but the catering is always really good. So. Yeah, and when it's to lunchtime, like, you're gonna eat really well.
You're gonna go. Yeah, you gotta have that farmer food to make it out there in the hot sun, right?
It's true. But anything else you got to say about the fantastic movie that was Jason Bourne?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted it to be better. I'm not looking forward to seeing Matt Damon's character try to explain why he's on the Great Wall.
What?
So the Great Wall, that movie, it's in China. Oh, and you didn't get to see any previews. I'm sure they showed the preview before the movie.
Yeah, okay. I didn't get, because I saw no previews. Even though I was there
I'm
early.
like, no, duh. Like, I'm sure.
I love previews, and I always want to get there for them.
Okay, so they're promoing right now. So I don't know if it's his next movie, because it doesn't come out till 2017. So probably not. But The Great Wall of China.
Yeah. I'm so mad you were acting like I didn't know where the Great Wall was. No. I didn't know what you were talking about. You're like, the Great Wall, you know, the one in China.
No,
like, I'm an idiot.
the movie is literally called The Great Wall.
Okay.
It's not a documentary. It's a fiction movie. And he's like the main character.
Interesting.
That's the part that doesn't make sense. Because I just have to make sure that you know that we're talking about China. And we're talking about ancient China. And Matt Damon, he's the main character.
Oh, it's ancient China. Like, it's when the Great Wall was being utilized.
Yeah, when it was like built.
Oh, wow.
Because
and Matt Damon's in this movie.
There's monsters. And so they built the wall to keep the monsters out. But for some reason, he's there as the main character.
Man, if only there were talented Chinese actors who could act.
It's so confusing. Like, I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't understand why. And so here's a trailer that needs to answer questions. Does not answer questions. I need you to explain why he's there.
Right.
Like, no, there's no explanation. Like, please help me out. Like, I don't understand. You're acting like he's supposed to be there.
Right.
Like, there's no explanation. There's people getting dragged off the wall by the monster.
Yeah,
there's
it's very
mysterious
natural.
Asian smog, which still exists in Beijing. Let's be real.
Yeah,
but there's like, you know, and the monster jumping out. But then it's like,
in fact, probably wasn't as bad then as it is now. So,
and it was like, that was actual clouds. Right. Like, now it's just
exhaust fumes.
It's crazy. And then he's just a little voiceover. You know, this is the battle of life. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, sir. I need you to explain.
Why are you here?
Are you an orphan?
There were no white people in China at this time.
Right. I don't understand. Were you an orphan adopted by the emperor? Like, I need answers.
Yeah.
So
he got you on the Silk Road, brought you home.
Right. Did they buy you as a slave?
This is
that
my
what happened?
child now. Yeah.
The emperor was like, give us a gift from your people or whatever, you know? And they're like, we have this little blonde kid. He's not worth anything. You know, like,
we got one of the German barbarians.
Pretty much. Like, I don't understand. Like, that's where they needed to explain something in the trailer. Yeah. So that's his next, I don't know if it's his next, but it's a big film. He's probably doing some indies in between there, but yeah, that was perplexing.
Or directing.
That was perplexing. It was completely perplexing. What he does these days.
Yeah, that's super weird. I wish I'd seen that trailer.
Project Greenlight, right? Is he still in that?
What is that?
Project Greenlight. Doesn't he still do that?
I don't know what that is.
The show, really?
It's a TV show?
Yeah, it's filmmakers, indie filmmakers. It's on cable. I don't know how much you pay for your TV. So
I like my last apartment. I had full cable, so I could watch Braves
I'm pretty
games.
sure it's on. I think it's on HBO. I've never watched it because
Oh,
I
I
don't
didn't-
have TV.
Gotcha.
So, but Project Greenlight, it's been on for several seasons, and he was definitely on the last season, and so they're just like indie filmmakers competing for the opportunity to be sponsored to make
cool.
a film.
Got it.
It's a reality show, and so he had been
So
doing
like
that.
Celebrity Apprentice, but for filmmakers.
Yeah, I guess in that way. So they all have some
Not
credits.
Celebrity Apprentice, but The Apprentice.
Yeah, I mean they all have some credits, but they're trying to work as a team and whatever. And again,
Gotcha.
not having watched it, I can't explain it very well. But
Oh,
he does that.
Thanks, Taryn, for the thorough explanation of that TV
Right,
show.
for that. So I just Google it, guys. Yeah, so that's what he does in
It
his
sounds
spare
really
time.
interesting. I would like to watch
I
that show.
feel like Ben Affleck used to do it when it
I mean,
first
they're
came
buds,
on.
so probably.
Yeah, I feel like because it's been on
They're like
it's been
besties.
like on and off for years. So I feel like they did it together.
That's ironic since it's
initially.
called Project Greenlight.
So why is that?
If it's been on and off for years.
That wasn't even punny. Like, I
Okay.
don't know, but it's just like.
Why are you mad though?
See, but then I was kind of like, oh, because it's like Project Runway, because I watched that one.
Oh, I know what that is.
With the
unfortunately,
clothes.
but
Yeah, so,
I know what it is.
right, with clothes.
Oh my gosh. Let's close the door on this one.
I can't with you anymore. You're fired. You're fired. In the words of
I just
President
don't
Trump,
appreciate.
you're fired.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I'm gonna just
let's
put a
not get
period
into it.
on that.
Let's
I was
not
like,
get
I
into it.
cannot. But
Yep.
yeah, in the words of President Trump, you're fired.
Amen.
So I don't know. Yeah, I hope that. I mean, I wanted to do a big budget movie, and that's why I picked this. And I thought that it would be a little bit better than some of the other choices, like the Suicide Squad. No offense to Suicide. You know what I mean? Like
I think I would have rather seen that.
maybe I don't know.
You didn't like the demonic nature of it all. No.
Yeah, I don't even know. I had a free ticket for it, and I still didn't go. Like. So it was like T-Mobile Tuesdays. They had free tickets for the Suicide Squad, and I was like, "No, you could pay me, I'll go, but
Right.
I'm not gonna like even use
Right.
that."
I do think though that it led to a good conversation. We got to talk about film history, and
That's
we
true.
got to talk about extras.
And editing.
we
Well,
gotta talk about
which
editing.
we didn't necessarily talk about it, but the editing in the first film was awesome.
Yeah, it was
And then this.
very brand new. Like it was a new way to do
Yeah.
things.
And
That's
I mean,
why
they
it was
crossed
important.
the line every now and again in there, and I think this
Right.
one depended on the handheld and the quick edits.
Right.
Instead of shooting really well set up.
Did they cross
really
the line in
awesome
this one?
footage. I don't remember seeing
I don't
that at
remember
all.
them crossing
But in
the
the
line
first one, a lot of that was the movement was in the edit, not in the like,
Right.
camera jumping all over the place.
Right.
So I was hoping for more of that, but
What does
I
that
was
mean,
kinda
Taryn, to
disappointed.
cross the line? Because we talked about crossing the line on the last podcast, but
Did
only
we?
because of what extra meant. And I was like, "Oh, you crossed the line."
Oh
but that
my
it does not. But
gosh.
in film terms, what I'm trying to help our audience out, crossing the line is not that. It's not that
That's
when you're
true.
talking about
right,
film.
Right, because that's
It
right.
doesn't mean like
a
you've gone too
non-film
far.
Person, I'm talking about editing, and they wouldn't
Right.
know if you
Right.
don't edit.
Crossing the line it's sort of a difficult concept to explain. Let's see if you can do it.
Okay, so here's the line.
Yeah, for those of you who are not watching on
And
the
the camera-
video, she drew a line across
Right,
our
because
bodies. We're
you
sitting next to
can't-
each other.
Right, because
Right.
you can't describe this
Well,
with
explain it.
words.
You have
it's
to.
a visual concept.
You have to.
No, this
It's a
is
podcast.
something that your people would do.
This is a
Is
podcast.
try to describe a visual
Your
concept
people?
in words.
What do
yes.
you mean, white people?
Yes, this would be a white boy
Or
thing.
do you
Let
mean
me.
boys?
Like,
Men.
That right, I know, but describing a visual concept in words
It's
like,
easy.
really sucks.
A 180
So.
degree line. Imagine it.
right, but 180 degrees is not a line. So
Yeah, it is. It's a straight line.
180 degrees would be like a half circle.
No, but the line is 180 degrees. So you're not measuring the
So you're talking
degree. You're measuring the line, like a 90-degree angle. You know it's a square.
See how this has gotten. Whereas if you could visually just see
I know, but if you're on a
that if there's
podcast,
a line
what are
and
you
you don't
going to
cross it, I don't know.
do? Do I
This
just
is
tell the
why I
people
watch
listening to a
videos
podcast to check
to
our
Google-
YouTube video?
Like, no, you would tell them Google what crossing the line is in regards to editing
Yeah.
and filmmaking.
Well, let's see if you can explain it though. Well, you can use
I
visuals.
probably-
You can use visuals.
I probably can't. So basically, if you are sitting somewhere and you have a straight line and the camera should stay on, let's just say the front or the back of that line. So stay in front of that line or stay in back of that
Right.
line if you were to draw it in the sand.
Why?
And
Why is that important to
we
do?
don't need reasons right now. We're explaining though that if you do not keep the camera on the front or behind that line, then you've crossed the line. When you try to edit it, it will look strange.
Yeah, that's the reason.
But even to say that, unless you edit, you're like, what are you talking? You know what I mean?
No,
It doesn't-
okay.
yeah,
So
it's
if
meaningless.
you've seen movies, so and when characters are having a conversation,
Yeah.
there's usually a wide shot to establish where they are in
Right.
this world. So if they're sitting at a booth, you've got two characters sitting at a booth at a restaurant.
Right.
There's a wide shot to the right of them or the left of them, depending on where they're sitting, that says
Right.
character A is on the right side of the booth and character B is on the left side of the booth. So then you cut to what's called a shot and reverse shot, which is usually a medium dirty shot, which means there's something in the foreground.
It's like reading a film book.
So you're shooting over the shoulder of one of the characters that you now know where they are in the space of this world. And so you shoot
Right.
over their shoulder, you shoot the other actor where you see their face. And they're on the right side of the screen when you're looking over that person's shoulder.
So much auditory information right now.
So then when you film the reverse shot, that character needs to be on the left side of the screen, because in your mind, like as the audience is watching, that's where they're familiar, that's where they are in space. So if you were to cross, so the imaginary
I
180
totally get
degree
it.
line,
Yeah.
is between, like on the characters' noses as they look at each other, imagining. So you're on the right side of the character on the left and the left side of the character on the right, because when you shoot over their shoulder, they're going to be on the right side of the screen.
This is for all the people who are auditory learners.
Because if you were to cross that line, if you're shooting over the character's right shoulder, then you're shooting the character, he's going to be on the right side of the screen.
Right.
Then when you cut to the other side, if you were to make the other character film over his other shoulder, then the reverse shot would have that character on the right side of the screen, and it would look like they're on the same side of the booth instead of across from one another. So the reason there's a rule that says don't cross the
It's
line.
about the power of editing suggesting visually to you that things are in a place that they are or are not.
Right.
So
the importance of not crossing the line is so that you don't confuse your audience as to where characters are in the space of the movie.
yes,
but
unless
there
that's
are times,
the point
right,
of why you're doing
exactly,
that. It's disorienting.
which is why there are times when it's important to
Yes.
cross the line, like in a movie like The Bourne Identity, where
Yes.
things are supposed to be
Unless
really
you want to
intense
have
and
crappy
disorienting.
like, editing instead. So
Right.
where you're just like, hey, let's depend on the camera moving around like this.
So that was like way too technical, way more technical than we normally get on this podcast.
Yes, and
but
it's
I
a
think it's a
lot.
fascinating concept.
I think it's good. Like,
So-
I think what's funny though too, because I was like, this is why though, like I'm a visual editor, is because like if I didn't know what you were talking about,
You'd have
that
no
would
idea
be
what I was saying.
utterly meaningless.
Yeah.
Because my ears are just like.
You have to intentionally visualize it as you listen, though. That's the whole point.
Yeah, no.
But that is one, though, like for the average person who is interested in film,
Yeah.
that's a concept that they wouldn't understand. Like most people
Yeah.
understand like continuity, or they understand.
I actually have no idea what most people understand about film who don't make film.
That's true.
Because I literally
But
don't
people know the word cinematography. People know what cinematography is. People can talk about
Yes.
soundtracks. People can talk about
and they think
performances and
directors
acting.
are more important than they are.
Right. People
Because they
talk,
get good awards.
Right.
But other people don't. Like, I mean, producers do, but they're not like household names.
right.
The producers are super important. Get it
Yeah.
together.
But most
Okay.
people don't know what even crossing the line means, or that it's important.
Yeah.
So
No.
I thought it would be something fun to do.
No, that's totally cool. And if you agree, please.
But
let
that's
him
fine.
know.
This was like 7 minutes longer than 30 minutes. So I figured if you were done with the show at a half an hour like normal, you can turn it off if you want to know what crossing the line is.
If
We've
you're
got
just like,
a
"Ew,
bonus
gross."
7-minute segment for you called Film Making 101 with Taryn.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yeah, I was like, no, that was totally with Ben. Because I would have done that in like 2 seconds. I'll be like,
You
if you want
tried
to know
by
more.
drawing a line that no one on our podcast can see.
I'm just like, because if you really want to know, you will go to YouTube and be like, what is crossing the line? And watch a video about it. So, if you really cared.
Yeah, but
So-
I want people to know that we know what we're talking about sometimes.
Okay, I'm going to leave that right there with no comment whatsoever. All right, it's a moment of silence for that.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, a moment of silence for that. So, which does not matter, but speaking of previews and editing, have you seen the preview for M. Night Shyamalan's new film?
I tried to intentionally avoid everything that comes out by M. Night Shyamalan. So
Well, okay, because the trailer for that was pretty dope. Like the editing on that, I was
What's it
like,
called?
yo, I don't even remember. The joint was scary. I don't watch scary stuff. Like I was halfway not watching
I think
it.
I do remember this.
It's the
actually.
guy with the multiple personalities or whatever, and he kidnaps the 3 girls.
Oh no, I didn't
But
watch
the
that.
edit on that, I was like, I hate that this is creepy because I actually want to watch this repeatedly. Like the way that they cut some of that stuff, I was very impressed. So
Well,
anyway.
I don't hear that a lot. M.
and-
Night Shyamalan and very impressed in the same sentence.
Well, he didn't cut that trailer.
That's true.
Someone else did.
That's true. They
No,
hired
but
another
it seems
company
like
to
he's
cut that
moving into
trailer.
horror because his horror film did really well. The last one was a horror film.
Which
and it
was
did
The
well.
Village?
No, He had a movie like last year with the kids and the grandma was pushing the girl in the oven.
I don't know.
Well, that was him. It was creepy as heck. The kids go to grandma's house and she's like, the grandma's crazy.
That is
and
creepy.
she's like, yeah.
I mean, his style does lend itself to horror being the only genre that won't make you hate him.
And it's hard to ruin horror. So there's a slight, psychological element because the guy has multiple personalities, but it's basically a horror film. So
Gotcha.
I think maybe he found his niche and maybe he just needs to stay there and keep making money. So...
I mean, I guess people want to watch it, so
yeah. I mean, he didn't cut the trailer though, so
right. That's very true. We all know that's true.
So yeah, definitely. Well, wow, a sudden change in our atmosphere here. So
it's a rainforest. I don't know if anyone can hear that, so it's not going to make any sense because these are pretty directional microphones.
Are going on in the atmosphere. So,
anyways,
on that note. All right, so very nerdy podcast for today.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. If not, I don't care. We're gonna do it anyway. We did it anyway, so it's too late.
He did it.
You're right. I totally talked about editing, so you're right.
But it's cool because it takes all kinds. So
it does. That's the point. Well, that is the point of the show is that there are stuff that intrigues me and stuff that intrigues you, and like we're different people, but we can still appreciate things. Yeah.
So, and have conversations or not appreciate Jason Bourne the movie.
Right. Which we both did not appreciate.
Right. We got to stop agreeing, though. So we'll come up with something for the next one.
Yeah, this is really lame. I hate this show now because you guys just agree all the time. And so I'm probably going to stop listening after like next week's episode. So
yes. Give us one more chance. Come on. All right.
Or the first chance.
Depending on when you came into the show.
/ if anyone watches it or listens to it.
Well, if you're on YouTube watching, please subscribe. We need subscribers.
Also, if you're on iTunes, please subscribe. Subscribing is important.
Is it? Okay. Please subscribe.
Because it's automatic downloads, which is how we gauge success.
Oh, that's creepy. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that.
No. But then you actually have to listen to it because after about 5 weeks of it automatically downloading and you not listening, it stops automatically downloading.
Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Okay.
So that's,
All right. So fill up your phone with our podcast. Thank you.
I mean, I fill up mine with it, but it stopped automatically downloading now because I don't listen to it. So
Ben.
I know. Whoops.
All right. Well,
I don't want to listen to myself talk. So sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. We've already listened to ourselves talk.
I have plenty of other podcasts to listen to. So not this one.
Yeah. All right.
But listen to
I know that went downhill so quickly.
Yeah, maybe I'll just cut this episode like 10 minutes ago when I edit this one.
All right. Well, this is like beyond the end. This is definitely.
This is the thing that rolls after the credits.
Seriously.
Have rolled.
Like this
and everyone
beyond
stayed, and
the
then
end.
they stay, and they're like, "Why did I stay for that?"
Right? Because
that was a waste of my time. I sat through 10 minutes of credits for this, for people sitting around an empty table eating shawarma. This is stupid.
Wow,
that was from
actual reference.
That was from the Avengers.
Oh, okay.
The end of the Avengers. Literally, they're just sitting in a shawarma restaurant eating, and it's dead silent, and it was really funny, but.
Okay.
Because no one expects that.
No, the end of Ghostbusters, they were doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And So, all right.